Welcome to Conveyancing Matters with Lorraine and Stu. Join us for a chat about all things property.
Hi, so welcome to the latest edition of Conveyancing Matters. Today I have Andrew McColl from Surveyors. So hi Andrew, how are you?
Yeah, hi Stuart, how are you?
Good stuff, not too bad, thank you, not too bad. Fortunately today we're missing my co-host Lorraine. She's far too busy to deal with myself today, so it's just me and you. So today we thought we'd have a good chat about surveys, as I know it's a subject close to your heart, and it's something within the legal profession that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, advising clients. So I suppose to start with, if I could ask just for you to tell me a bit about yourself, how you got into the industry.
Well, I'm Andrew McColl. I'm a surveyor. I got into the industry quite late, actually, about 15 years ago. But I've always been in the construction industry and dealing with big house building projects, commercial projects, fitting out tower blocks, this kind of thing. But I've always had a love and a passion for buildings and perhaps older buildings as well. So historic buildings, but all buildings. It's just something that I've enjoyed doing. You go to any house, you don't know anything about it, and you have to come away knowing everything about it. So it's a bit like being a detective, I suppose. It's find the problem or find the clue with it. So yeah, it's a profession that I enjoy, and it's one that I really do think is very, very important, especially for the consumer. Houses are sold as seen. It's as simple as that. It's the biggest thing you're ever going to buy. And I think we're in important parts of the process, and actually, to a degree, a forgotten parts of the process.
Massively. I mean, I've always said there should be equal parity, with the lawyer. The clients are going to buy the biggest acquisition that they're ever going to make, aren't they? And why wouldn't you carry out massive legal due diligence? And of course, you guys, your eyes, so to speak.
That's right. And it's really quite funny that people will walk into a house and they will know that is the house that they're going to buy. And they've made that decision in 20 minutes. And actually, I do believe that one of the first people that they will call is their lawyer. They will call their conveyancer and say, I'll put an offer in the house. And yes, they're going to call their bank and say, please arrange the survey if they're doing that. But they don't think of us at an early stage. They really, really don't think of us. And they should.
Most definitely, most definitely. So Andrew, you've got your own business, Surveyors. How long's that been going?
That's been going, 15 years. 15 years. And we've had a quite close relationship probably from the start of PCS as well.
Oh, definitely.
So we've known each other quite a time, and Kate as well, and just about everybody in PCS really.
That's it.
But also, I'm the vice chairman of the Residential Property Surveyors Association.
Okay.
It's a not-for-profit association of independent residential surveyors that come from different backgrounds. The Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, the Chartered Association of Building Engineers, Chartered Institute of Builders, Chartered Institute of Building Service Engineers, Structural Surveyors. I think you get the picture. If you are a competent, accredited residential surveyor, you can be a member. And the beauty of it is, with our association, is we've got a high bar for joining, and everything's checked annually. Okay, so I'd like to say that we don't have a bad apple in the bunch. We've also got a panel where we actually price surveys for our members. So the RPSA can provide a survey for somebody anywhere in England and Wales, and it's a complete quality assured process. So it's a great thing to be part of. And I actually overlook the panel part of the organisation as well. So
okay,
so busy.
busy. Okay, so I suppose let's cut to the biggest question of all. Why should somebody buying a property have a survey?
Well, it's crazy really, because people spend more time looking at a car than they do at a house, and it's not because they'd like to spend more time in the house, but you're in someone else's house and you can't test drive it. You've made that that decision in about 20 minutes flat. And it's a life-changing decision, and it's paying a mortgage for 25 years. And there's a common misconception that the valuation from a bank is a survey. It is not. It gives you no consumer protection whatsoever. And I think there's, I mean, I could give you 100 points, but if I could condense it into 3, number 1, I'd always say about insurance. I mean, if you buy a house and you haven't had it professionally assessed and you start running into big problems, an insurance company could use that as an excuse. They say, how do we know that subsidence issue wasn't there beforehand? If you had a surveyor, the surveyor would have told you. The surveyor would have told you about that oak tree right next to the house that's causing problems. He would have spotted that Japanese knotweed in the garden. So I think insurance is one thing. I think when you make an offer on a property, you make the offer on what you reasonably know about it. But you have rose-coloured glasses on when you go in there. So when we go in there, we're not going to live there. Okay, so we look at it cold, hard light of day. So if we find things that you couldn't reasonably have known about, at least you can use that for legitimate negotiation with things. Because why? It's like paying more money. Why move in and get all the surprises? And you're probably going to be skint when you move in anyway. So I do think that it's proper value. And why not know about these issues at an early stage? And also, your lawyer or your conveyancer is probably unlikely to actually go to the property. So we are the eyes and ears of the conveyancer, and it can be massively helpful. We could spot things about boundaries or covenants or easements and lots of other things. So you'd be surprised, well, you wouldn't be surprised, but how much actually talking behind the scenes that can go on between a conveyancer and a surveyor. So I think it's massively useful for the consumer.
Yeah, I mean, we always advise all of our clients, all of the time, to have a survey. I think there's, a lack of understanding sometimes with the general public as to what happens during the conveyancing process. And for us, one of the first things we explain to our client is that we do not see the property. We will not be visiting the property. So, we carry out legal due diligence on the title to the property. It's, it's all paperwork per se. So it's massively important that they instruct a surveyor, because the surveyor is the expert at looking at the property. And if there are any problems with the property, you buy it, it's, let the buyer beware, so to speak. So do all your homework before you commit to buying it. So, over the years, I've always sort of explained to clients that there's a number of different surveys that they can have, from a home buyer's report to a structural survey. And maybe we'll speak about valuations in a bit, as there's a misconception, I think, with a lot of people that, the valuation is a survey, which most certainly it's not. If I was to ask you the question, Andrew, and we spoke briefly before we came on there about the different types, and maybe as far as you're concerned, there should only be one. Well, how would you explain the different types of survey that there are?
Well, I think the different types of survey that there are cause a lot of confusion in the industry generally. If someone wants to talk to me about a survey, I want to talk about their house, their needs, their future plans, their concerns, before I would say, yes, you need this, or you need that, or you need the other. But I think really the question should be the other way around, not what type of survey, what surveyor. A survey is only as good as the surveyor. It's as simple as that. And I suppose to a degree, the actual survey type is a piece of paper he writes his report on. And people say to me sometimes, oh, I'd like this, I'd like a full structural. Well, the thing is this, that all surveys primarily do the same thing. Is it structurally sound? Isn't it structurally sound? And with the different types, you could say, well, at the other end, or the more expensive survey, as it were, will give you a lot more detailed advice. And I don't think it's a one thing fits all question and answer. It really is. I would want to see the property, talk to the clients, and then let's say what you need. I get people coming to me saying, I need a full structural survey. They're living on the 13th floor of a block of flats. Well, yeah, I think that you're paying the most amount of money for well, Yeah, I don't think that that is suitable. So
No,
I
of
think
course.
it really is a matter of talking to your surveyor and yeah, let them have
That's
a
really interesting though. So if we recommend a client to you and they'd call you and you would go through, what they're doing, the type of property they're buying, and perhaps make a product that's suitable for them, suitable for their needs.
yes. I mean, when I send out, I personally don't give prices out over the phone. I will talk to a client, I will run through the survey types and what I would recommend by
Yeah.
putting everything in writing to them, and I never chase anything up whatsoever, because I don't want to be classed as some double glazing salesman from hell that is going to plague the life out of people. But I'm a great believer in, and a lot of this is to do with my involvement with the RPSA, that there should only be one type of inspection, and that's a full and thorough inspection. So I tend to favour the building survey and also the home condition survey. Home condition survey sits kind of in the middle. It's the same level of inspection, but not as expensive. But at the end of the day, the clients can have whatever the client wants. The choice and the offers are there. Yeah, I can make a recommendation, but at the end of the day, it's consumer choice. But I think that there is that process of talking to someone for 10 or 15 minutes to understand what they're going to do to a property. Because you talk to someone and they say, well, I want to do an extension or I want to do a loft conversion. And the first thing I can see is, well, that's not possible in this case. Or I want to build on top of this 1930s garage. It's so I think it's managing their expectations as well with things. And also, I think that people don't always understand what a survey is all about. I consider the surveyor to be a general doctor. He goes there, he'll have a look, and he will make further recommendations on certain things if need be. We're not gas engineers, so sometimes more specialist stuff is needed in the future. But
It's a great point you make though, because whether a client could extend on top of that sort of single story extension, something of that ilk, that would never come up in the conveyancing process. And lots of clients would be buying properties with a view of extending them, that kind of thing. So it really does show you how important the survey can be. If we turn to the sort of red herring in the survey, well, the valuation, the amount of times this causes us as lawyers a problem where the client, thinks they've had a survey. So again, if I say to you, Andrew, what is a valuation? Why do we need a survey when we've already got a valuation?
Well, I mean, and this is the thing that is wrong with the industry is that 80% of people, you think it's more, but I've always had 80% in my head, that 80% of people think that a valuation is a survey. It is not in any way, shape or form. And nowadays, even most valuations are what they call desktop appraisals. So they don't even go there. All the bank is worried about, and I'll probably get in trouble with banks for saying this, is, well, can you pay for the mortgage? And if you can't, can we sell that property again? I think that is the nuts and bolts of business. But the message isn't really out there firmly enough that the valuation will not give you consumer protection. And I think that people don't realise that until later down in the line, and then it can cause a bump in the whole process, because then people say, right, I need to organise a survey. Can you do it tomorrow? Yeah, right. Yeah. We were waiting for your call. Of course, we can do it tomorrow. No, but we try and do things quickly. But I think it just adds. It's another thing that adds to the whole process.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the issues might be that the client has to pay for that valuation. So I think the client pays for that valuation. They think they're paying for a product that's going to be for them. We always tell all our clients that you may pay for the valuation. The bank may ask you to pay that fee. However, it's not being done for you. It's a valuation for the bank, designed to tell them that the property that's being bought is going to be okay to lend X amount of money on. They're not going to look at possible damp or subsidence or issues like that. And I think one of the real key points as well, which we always try and explicitly tell our client, and that is, if a valuation takes place and the valuer was to miss something that is wrong with the property, that client has absolutely no recourse whatsoever against the valuer, against the bank. You know, it's done. The valuation offers them, would you say, zero protection, I suppose. So it really is important, I think, as lawyers, that we explain the difference. We explain the fact that the valuations for the bank only, but you still you really must get a survey. And we were talking the other day, weren't we, about the types of property. You know, I said to you, would you bother with a survey on a property that's 8 years of age, or would you bother on a leasehold property? But you were saying, in your opinion, you should always have a survey. It's not a property. The property type doesn't define.
Yeah, all properties. I think you have a 100-year-old property and people say, I must have it surveyed because it might fall down. Well, actually, I think to myself, it's been standing there for 100 years. It probably won't. And I'm a little bit more suspicious and cautious of the newer property, because I think to myself, it hasn't proved itself. Was it properly built? And we can go, and we have gone to many new properties where there are some serious issues. And we can, I think there was a BBC poll about 98% of people not being happy with the new property, but I think that is a subject for another day on new build properties. But
it's
yes,
funny, isn't it? You're exactly right, though, because there's a lot of publicity about new builds and the quality of build at the moment. But in my head, I've always sort of been fixated. The older the property, like you said, 100 years old, must get a survey. If it's new, maybe you don't need one so much. But you're right. It's been standing there for 100 years. I never would have thought of it in that kind of context.
Well, I get it all the time. It's only 20 years old. I don't need a survey, and I think that people do just cut corners and think, oh, do you know what? I'll save a few £100 by not bothering to have a survey done. But there was some old research, and there was some statistics done, and this was probably about 10 years ago, that 1 in 10 people that had a survey done actually saved about £10,000, with an average of £2,500 generally with surveys. I'd like to know what the latest statistic is with it. But I think also it's not even about, can I get some money off? Peace of mind is absolutely priceless. Yeah, I've bought a property that is good, and I think, stamp, job well done. And I think that sometimes people are a bit, oh, didn't you find anything wrong then? I think, well, no.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. Yeah, and I always tell the clients, you're getting an expert to go in there to look for things that could potentially affect you once you've bought that property. And I actually had a good friend of mine, fairly recently, that bought a substantial property, despite me telling him 3 or 4 times during the conveyancing process, have a survey. He chose not to. And on moving in, he has discovered all sorts of problems with modifications that were carried out to this property, extensions that were not fit for purchase. And, I'm not exaggerating to say that he's actually had to, knock down parts of the property to have it rebuilt because it was in such a poor state. And it just amazes me the volume of money that people will spend on the property. And, they'll move in, they'll spend a couple of grand on new carpets, but they didn't consider having a survey. I just find it perplexing. And yet, as lawyers, we're telling clients, I advise you to have a survey. We don't say that once or twice. It's 3 or 4 times during the process. And that wouldn't be, PCS Legal as a practice. It would be all lawyers telling all their clients. So, it's something really you'd expect, many, many, many more people to actually do it. But unfortunately, they don't, do they?
No. The other thing about surveys that I do want to add is that sometimes surveys can focus on the negative, okay? But I actually think that we're not there to throw a spanner in the works, okay? We are here to offer a solution, okay? There's no such thing as perfect. There are little bits and pieces with every house, and we will say, well, okay, we found something there. This is what you need to do about it. So it is not the end of the world. So we're not here to kill a dream. We're not here to kill the sale. I don't think there's very rarely a problem that we can't solve or give some good advice on things. Because at the end of the day, it's the dream house for people.
I think that's it though, isn't it? It's letting the client buy the property, being aware that they may well, you know, have a slight issue, but it may be something they can attend to later down the line. It doesn't have to be a case of pulling out or renegotiating prices, although it does give you an angle to do that. But, you know, you're buying fully aware of the state and the condition of the property, and whether during the next few years you may have to do some repairs or upkeep. It's, you know, surely peace of mind is worth the money alone.
Yeah,
But definitely. Look, Andrew, we've been sort of chatting now for about 20-25 minutes, so it's probably time to sort of wrap it up. I just want to say, you know, big thank you for coming on. I've really enjoyed the chat. I found all the information, you know, fascinating. And it's nice to sort of, you know, speak to somebody about surveys, an expert in the field. If we've got any clients that are watching that are thinking about having a survey, we would always recommend you guys. So if you want to give them a plug, how would they contact you?
amsurveys.co.uk or nationally, the rpsa.org.uk.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Andrew.
Thank you, and I hope I get invited back.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers.